This episode is sponsored by Zenro Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenroclothingco.com and be sure to use offer code Socrates at checkout for 20% off select items. Also, if you're not into spending the money, just check out the Zenrail radio playlist. zenrailclothingco.com, music for your everyday. This episode also sponsored by The Pointy Bakery. If you're located in the Pointy area of Scarborough, Toronto, be sure to check out The Pointy Bakery, say what's up to Arville, and pick up a donut or two. Baked daily, crafted with love. This episode also sponsored by Podbean. Podbean is the podcasting platform of choice. It's the one that me and Vish use, and is great, you know, if you're looking to start that DIY podcast yourself. Definitely check out Podbean. Use the link podbean.com/SocraticGamers and gain 1 month of unlimited podcasting for free. Test it out, build that content. Anyone could podcast, right, Vish?
Yep.
Start a podcast and get your ideas out there. All right, enjoy the episode. All right, so I know Dune came out this week, but I haven't watched it yet. You watched it. You said you really liked it, so we'll just discuss it next week when I have had a chance to watch it.
Yeah.
But I guess the bigger one, I think we talked about it last week, was that we were going to talk about Squid Game. I was hopefully going to finish it this upcoming week, and I did. Mm-hmm. So I guess the majority of this podcast, at least the first half of it, I don't know where the second half is going to go, but we'll talk about Squid Game. So what are your... do you want to jump in first, or do you want me to jump in first?
You have it fresh, so I think you should jump in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was really... Okay, so first of all, I don't know why it was the most streamed thing. Like, okay, I guess it's because the world's catching on to it. But in terms of, like, the most streamed, does that equate to being the best? I wouldn't say so. So, like, just because something's the most streamed doesn't mean it's the best, like, thing out there, right?
Sure, yeah.
Right. Like, the one that it beat was that old school show that, like, I've never even heard of, like, Bridge. It's like some, like, Queen.
Oh, yeah. I know we're talking about Bridgerton or something like that. Yeah.
So that was number one, apparently. And then...
I didn't watch that show.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I tried.
So
it didn't work for me.
See, right. So the most streamed thing doesn't necessarily mean the best thing. It's just more about marketing, right? So, like, the algorithms, the way things work, the way people are, like, hyped on it. And we were talking about this prior to the beginning of the... prior to
sometimes
this,
what happens is when it hits a certain, like, oh, everybody's talking about, okay, let me just check it out.
It's like trending.
And then is it really, did they like it, or did they just watch it because everything was trending? Yeah.
Totally. So, and it gets pushed because of the algorithm to the top, and then people are like, oh, well, everyone's talking about Squid Game, so, like, let's watch it. But in terms of it's like innovation, I didn't think it was innovatively good. Like, so Alice in Borderland, similar concept. You fight for your survival, and then the whole idea of, like, the class systems that's, like, in other movies like Platform, and then the lessons, you know, that you learn about, like, community and individualism. That's, like, the underlying narrative of most Asian cinema and, like, anime, Asian media.
Yeah.
You know? So that out of the way, what it did hold was, I guess, like, the combination of all those things. So that was why it was good. But what really stood out to me was it wasn't like Walt was like, oh, it's like The Platform, which is about trickle down economics. But I didn't feel that from this movie. I felt it was more about, like, climbing the corporate social ladder. Yeah. And, like, what you would do to get to the top. Yeah. You know? And, like, it wasn't until later that you realize that this whole thing was being funded by people who had a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Right? And then the person at the bottom, like, they're at the lowest point in their lives with all this debt and, like, all these troubles. They're trying to make, like 45 billion won or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. And, like, making that amount of money would push you to the level of those 1%ers that they saw. Well, theoretically, I mean, I'm sure those 1%ers have way more than...
Right, yeah. But in that category, yeah.
It would put you in that category. So it's very relatable to, like, you were saying rappers, you know,
But like people, yeah, that's
like
come
artists,
from really poor backgrounds that are
like Eminem. Your example,
yeah.
was like Eminem,
and then just become super rich.
and it's like now you're thrust into this whole class of like wealthy people. I was actually watching this YouTube video about like old money versus new money, and like what new money does with their money as opposed to old money. Whereas like old money will invest in like real estate. They wouldn't buy a bunch of fancy cars because they know that like they want to make the money last. Whereas like new money is like, oh, it just came in, so let me just buy everything that I've always wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what you see. Like that's kind of like analogous for this whole Squid Game thing, right? And what I thought was super interesting was that all the people that were good, well, I won't talk about like the ending part, but leading up to it, all the people that were like altruistic and did things for like the collective good, they ended up dying,
Yeah.
And the only reason why, big spoiler alerts if you haven't watched this yet, the only reason why the main guy won is because the bad guy, or like the individualistic guy, finally absorbed collectivism, and then he sacrificed himself so that the main guy would win, because the main guy wanted them both to just leave the game. They weren't gonna win the money. They're like, it's over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, that's like an underlying thing that I find in most like anime or like Eastern style. That's why I've always liked it since a kid. Like, this whole idea of sacrifice and like, although the actual truth behind samurai is that they weren't as noble as people think, but like this like depiction of what a samurai is, that's underlying in all Eastern concepts. Like they really don't think about individualism, but
Yeah.
Hey, you gonna say?
No. Yeah, like it's all collective, right? Like for the
Greater good,
total,
right? And
total good.
And it reminds me of like how when there was the earthquake in Japan, remember? And then they were showing like how America dealt with the earthquake, and then the food lines, and there was like rioting, police, and like all this stuff. And then they showed Japan, and they were like waiting in line, like in the queue. They're just like, okay, well, we'll wait our turn.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I remember I said something about this like a while back, and then they're like it's hard for somebody of a Western mindset to see that kind of thing, because they always think in terms of like the self, yourself, right? But when you really look at it, I think it's mostly because of the indoctrination of what kind of media you intake. So think about like American style media, right? Which is all about like make it to the top, cutthroat, individualism. Right? That's what all their shows. Succession is amazing, right? I love Succession, but that's what it's about, right? And then you like jump to something like Squid Game, and it's like, no, for the good of everyone, uphold your honor, don't disrespect one another, so it's like no wonder that the East is more into that kind of like modality of like mindset, like you know what I mean? It's really fascinating to see it as like a case study of East versus West,
right?
What do you want to say anything about Squid Game? I'm just going off on like the analogous nature of East and West.
So mine was like more I like remembering some things of what you were saying in the last week's episode, because it's like, I was like, why is that old man on like remember that one, he was like top of the bed at night, and then they stopped it. It's like, what did he do? Like, why did they stop it? Remember, I think you asked that question.
Why did they stop it?
That was the old man was like yelling from the top of the bed. Like, this is the first time when they had the nighttime and everybody went killing each other.
Oh yeah.
And then he was on top of the bed yelling, and then they stopped the game.
Okay.
They turned on the lights. I think you said like, oh, what did he do? Like, you're already. Oh. That's what I was saying. Like, there's certain things that you guys were saying.
Okay. Let's go into that then. The predictable nature of this show. It was like it wasn't. It was so obvious, the twists, that it made it seem not obvious. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like it would be so ridiculous. Like Tara was saying, like, oh, the brother is probably the dude with the black mask. And I was like, there's no way, because that's like a ridiculous twist, you know? But because it was so ridiculous, you're like, this would never happen. And then when the twist happens, you're like, oh, dude, I knew it the whole time. But it's like you know what I mean? It's like overly predictable to the point that you know, you find it as an amazing plot twist simply because you didn't think that it would be so obvious. You know, just like the old man thing. I was like, oh, there's something weird going on with the old man. It turns out the old man's running the whole game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's what was funny is like seeing these, like when you were saying it, it's like you're catching on to something that you're going to realize that those are the answers.
But that's why it's so funny. Like, that's why I was like, this show's not that great, because it wasn't like, it didn't like fully surprise. It wasn't like it came out of nowhere. It's kind of like you kind of knew it, you know? Remember I was saying like, oh, why is this the only time this old man feels joy is when he's playing the game.
Yeah, you said that.
He said at the end of the show, like, oh, dude, that's, yeah. Like it was so ridiculously obvious that
he was having a blast.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. But what I like too about let's go into the lessons, like the ones that they tried to ram down your throat was like how the poor and the rich have something in common, and it's that their life feels meaningless. It's only the people in the middle, because they're struggling for something. You know, if you have everything, it's like, okay, what do I do now? If you have nothing, you're also like, what do I do now? You know? Yeah. And I thought that was interesting, because it's like the struggle that makes life worth living. You know, that's why he liked playing the game. Yeah. They even jumped at the end when he's like, when the VIPs arrived and they're like, oh, why don't you greet them? And he's like, I'll have more fun playing the game than watching the game. You know? Yeah. And when he said that, it was like, yeah, because, you know, life's an immersive experience, you know, just. Yeah. But
he could never die in that game. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. That was an underlying clause, but still,
that was the underlying thing. Yeah.
And it's funny because it's like, if you actually look at what a game is, it really brings you into the present moment. That's what like even though people are like, oh, why do you play video games? Or like, why do you watch shows? Or like whatever, like, why do you, like, I'm taking this Adele masterclass thing right now. And then what she was asking everyone was, what do you do for joy? You know? And she's like, it could be walking. It could be, you know, like being with your family, anything that brings you joy. And the people there in the masterclass, they didn't really get it, but I was like, oh, it's because joy brings you into the present moment. You know, just like the old man, you know, he's like living in a state of complacency or like sadness. And then, but when they're all playing the game, it's like, it really forces you to come alive amidst death, because you're about to like lose with dire consequences. Yeah, a lot of good lessons in that show. Anything else they have?
Yeah, I think the lessons are there. I think it seems like it's, but I mean, I've been watching Korean.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Korean cinema for a while now, right? And the tropes of sacrifice and family. Yes. It's been there, and it's always been there.
But, all right, so let's go into why this is probably popular. I think it's because BTS got really popular in like the kid sphere, and then that put like things on radar. Because like, how does a trend come about? Usually trends come about in like high school, elementary school. We're old, like, but we don't remember that when we were younger. That's when a lot of like media got taken up. You know, like a lot of slang words came up. Like what are we? We're not in a petri dish of people that will share, you know, like you know, I mean, you go to work, but nobody's like, oh my god, gee, blah blah blah. You know, but when you're a kid, it's like, it's all about what you know that nobody else knows. Right. It's all about trends when you're a kid, right? So I think because BTS, the Korean pop band, got really popular, the kids were playing it to their adults, and then the adults were like, well, like, what's with this Korean music? Like, I can't
because you don't understand the language.
Like, why are you listening? Even I said to my sister, I was like, why are you listening to this Asian? And like you're Asian, sure, but you don't understand what they're saying, right? Yeah. It's sort of like back when I was into anime, and then I would listen to like the Naruto theme song, even though I don't know what they're saying. But it's just the energy of it, right?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, I remember Bleach. I really liked Bleach intro.
Yeah, Bleach. Yeah. So it's funny. I asked my sister like, "Why are you listening to BTS?" And she's like, "Oh, it's like really popular right now. Like Jade is Shris's daughter.
Okay. Oh, she's
in like high school now.
yeah. Okay.
And like my sister was buying a birthday present for her, and it was like a BTS thing. So that's kind of, I think that's how it starts. You know, it starts with the kids getting into something.
Yeah.
And then it moves up throughout the generation.
Yeah.
You know, and then what came next was Parasite. So all the parents were already like, okay, Korean stuff is kind of popping right now. So like what is this movie Parasite? And then Parasite 1. Now everybody's watching Parasite.
Yeah.
And then like, why didn't Alice in Borderland get popular? Because it's Japanese, whereas Korean right now is in.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
So I think that's why. I mean, even the fried chicken, Jared, like he loves the fry down here. Remember, that's Korean too, bro. Korean fried chicken is like the best. You know?
Yeah. There's a couple others I would recommend if people are into this Korean stuff, which is
like shows. Or
no, movies. I got movies.
Oh yeah, me too, bro.
Right, like Train to Busan.
Oh, dude, that was so good. See, it's like, but it has the underlying thing. So Train to Busan's about like zombies, and like the final scene was about sacrifice again. You know. But then
it's the theme in a lot of these is sacrifice.
Yeah.
For the greater good. That's just how it always is. And so Train to Busan had that. Then there's another movie I watched was called Pandora that had that. And there's another one I forgot the name, but another one it was about a fire truck person or fireman. But it's like again sacrifice.
Yeah. But see that's what I think is really interesting. So like if you put like, okay, so let's just create a scene right now. If you put in a Western movie like that, they're in prison and then they only have one piece of bread, like one ration.
Yeah. How are you gonna?
They're gonna split the ration, and then people, if they put that in like a Western movie, they're like, "Oh my God, look, that's crazy. He's so nice. He's sharing his food." But if you put that same scene into like an Asian movie, it would be more shocking if he didn't share the food. Right. But if it was in the West and he didn't share the food, it's like, yeah, well, that's his food, bro. You know what I mean? But like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you didn't have that scene of like sharing your last ration with another person, then Eastern people would have been in an uproar. Like, what is this? That guy's a jerk. Like, he can't be the main character. They always want their main characters to be like a person of valor and sacrifice and honor. Yeah. You know? And so you were talking about those movies. One movie that I keep recommending to people is because I like the knife fighting.
Oh yeah.
The Man from Nowhere.
Yeah. So
that movie is about a guy who lost his family. He's like an ex Navy SEAL, not American Navy SEAL, like South Korean Navy SEAL, and he lost his family. They got killed in like like a car crash or something, and then he became like a pawn shop dealer. Okay. Because like he's like nothing left to live for, right? But even that, like the suggestion of like without family you're nothing, right? It's like, oh wow, that's interesting. So then he's like, this little girl always has interactions with him, like she's always like trying to pawn stuff off, and then one day her mother gets kidnapped because she's a part of a drug ring, and then he has to pull back his Navy SEAL. It's sort of like John Wick. He has to pull back his like Navy SEAL training to go save her, you know? And like there again, it's like sacrifice. Like what wouldn't you do for, you know, another person? It's really interesting. Yeah. But so like that reminded me of the final scene. I was getting hyped, but I forgot to talk about it. The final scene in Squid Game, not final scene, the final episode, when they're fighting, the martial arts was actually on point. Like the knife fighting, and it's so funny because like in like Eastern countries, right? Like Western countries, martial arts isn't really practiced. It's like kind of like like an after school thing. It's like rare, right? But in the East, most people just practice it because it's a part of like school, right? So when I was watching them do their knife fighting, I was like, dude, this is actually super legit. Like the way they were defending the knife, they were like passing it off. Like it was real, you know? But like there's always some component of martial arts in Asian cinema. Yeah, I was wondering,
it's like it comes from, you know, director having a background or at least knowledge arts in this. Yeah. And then they probably have really good stuntmen who know these sort of things.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
And especially in those areas, they do have I mean, stuntmen that are skilled in these.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And in South Korea, the style is Hapkido. Like everyone talks about Taekwondo, but like Taekwondo is like primarily kicking based, whereas like Hapkido is like what the man from nowhere was doing.
Okay.
Which is like locks, and like you can use like knife and you can use kicks, stuff like that. This is actually what my first black belt was in as well. It's like a Hapkido style, so like that's why I really liked it, like watching it on camera. But like the locks and stuff, the only thing that I thought was so funny watching that is because now that I'm doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like specifically Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, like when he got him in the headlock, I'm like, there's an easy reversal. Like if you knew ground, because they always say, like, this is why I wanted to learn grappling, because like all fights end up in a clinch somehow. Like you guys are gonna come close together, and they kept doing that in the fight scene. Right. They were like knife fighting, and then like he got in close because like if you're close, then you can't stab me as easily. But like if you just added that little groundwork in there, it would have been like even more better. But like they're not Brazilian, they're Korean, right? Yeah. So they're gonna do that. I think it would not
style. It just wouldn't make sense them to pull out Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
You'd be like, whoa, how's this guy doing this headlock defense? And he's like, oh, his top game is so good. But like it's just funny to watch, because I was like, if I was in that Squid Game, I would take that guy out so easily. Like even just being a white belt, like it's so simple. Like just watching the mechanics and them fighting, I'm like, there's so many defenses for a lot of what you guys are doing. Yeah. Sorry, that was my martial arts portion, because I like martial arts. Yeah. But final lessons of and anything else about.
I mean, I think the point was when you get to the end, like what the actual lesson is, right? Like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, keep going.
It's just that, either you have a lot of money and like I think it was more of that. Like when you have too much money, life is boring because you can do anything, and you have too little money, it's just like it's just a struggle. Like it's just a continuous struggle where it's meaningless.
Because it's like, well, I'm not going to get out of this anyways. I'm just in a perpetual state of like complacency. Yeah. But you were saying like the final lesson, actually what the real final lesson was, because of the final scene.
I probably missed that, or I don't remember it.
So so speaking of like honor and valor and like what you'll do for the collective, the final, it's kind of weird though, if you watch the show, he like dyed his hair red. I was like, that's like some super like trendy Korean stuff right there. Okay. But sorry, I digress. Because I thought it was weird. I was like, but I mean they're into that, like that super like poppy look. He dyed his hair like super bright red. Okay. And I was like, okay, K-pop stars are like totally into that. Yeah. But anyways, so the final lesson technically is that he's going out for vengeance to protect the weaker people from the game. Because like he gets the card again, and he calls, and he's like, he basically pulls a John Wick. He's like, I'm not gonna let you guys get away with this. And then they're like, just get on the plane and your life will be better. And he's like, he turns around, he's like going out for revenge now. Yeah, so it's like
part 2.
Yeah, part 2, but also like that final lesson of like honor, valor. Like I won't stand for this injustice. Right. He's a good main character. I was like shocked. It's funny because like watching that final scene, and then like they play like they show like his image or something. Like looking back to his image of when he like his what do you call that, display picture. Okay. You know how like in the beginning like smile and then they take the picture, and then there's like the number. It's such a huge difference from who he was to who he is now. Yeah. Like the seriousness is there. Like he knows who he is. Like through the hard. It's almost like you can't grow without. You can't. I saw this quote. It's like you can only make good decisions from bad decisions. So you have to make those bad decisions. You know what I mean? So it's like all the hardships that he went through turned him into this valor person by the end of it. He's like one that we all want to be like. Yeah. It's cool. And yeah. So what do you think? Definitely worth a watch, or?
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so too. I mean,
if you haven't understood like Asian cinema and sacrifice, I think it's a good one to get into. And sure, there's other things in it, which is a lot of gore.
Yeah.
Right. You got to be ready for that.
But I mean, that's also another cool thing about it, because it's like you don't have to make these things weird or like, because I mean, even from The Man from Nowhere, it's pretty gory, and then but gory too. Like, it's not like Saw gory. Yeah. It's just like violent.
I would say more violent.
Yeah. Same with like Train to Busan with the zombies, also violent. But that's why it's like Jared was telling me, he's like, did you find it like gory? Because he's like, a lot of my coworkers were saying it was like extremely graphic. And I was like, no, I've seen like way worse things. He's like, yeah, me too. So I was kind of like confused with what they were talking about.
Again, I think they're coming from the side that they don't see these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. True.
And how popular it is, I guess it is a bit much for a lot of people. It seems like
in Parasite, wasn't there like a scene where they bashed the dude's head in and then they showed it?
I can't remember, but it was like, I mean, throughout the whole movie, there wasn't too much. It was just that, and there was, at the end.
Yeah, remember? Like when he was like killing the parasites. Yeah. So it's like they probably were like, "Oh my god, this is crazy." But it's like,
but that was the only scene, right?
Yeah,
out of the whole movie, versus like multiple things happening here.
It's funny because like when you like watch this, they all follow the exact same blueprint. You know what I mean? Like you can actually see the exact same stuff carry out through multiple movies, like the gore, the martial arts, the characteristics of the main character, the come up story, from like rags to riches. Like it's always the same. Even in like that zombie movie, The Train to Busan, it's like the dad in The Train to Busan, the dad was always working and he couldn't make time for his family, but then by the end he sacrificed his life for his family. So it's like transformational stories.
That's what everybody likes, though.
Totally.
Right. I mean, these things make good story.
Totally. But I think it's like, Or what are you saying?
It's the lessons.
Yeah, the lessons. And I think it's true. Well, I know it's true because I've read up on it, but like the best way to indoctrinate a nation is by giving them media to consume, because your media is going to influence your mindset. Yeah. Right. So like when you see, I guess when you see like movies like, what was that movie where, like, let's just name any popular Western movie.
Popular?
Yeah, like hold on. I'm gonna remember this one. The one with Osama bin Laden.
Zero.
Jessica Chastain.
Zero Dark 30.
Yes, thank you. Good memory. So Zero Dark 30. If you watch that, you're like, us versus them. We're gonna kill these people. Yeah. The torture's cool as long as you're doing it for your country. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's like that's like a weird. That's like an Americanized like indoctrination. Yeah. Right? Like,
yeah, of course.
But then if you like on the flip side, it's like you don't really have that kind of like for my country movie style in the East. Like I can't think of one. Like I think of like samurai movies and like.
Right.
Yeah. And like how many movies show transformation in the West? Like just name like five. Name five.
How many movies show transformation?
Like to the level of like Squid Game, where it's like you 180 on your life and you become this amazing person who's all about like protecting others. It's hard, right? Yeah. The only ones I can think of are like rom-coms. Like those romantic comedies where like they start off as a bad person and they end up like really falling in love with the person who'll do anything for the one they love. That's it though.
Right.
Molly's Game was about every man for himself. I guess like the Marvel movies were
in some ways, but those are not really already superheroes, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was only thinking of one I don't know. Last Samurai, but that's
Yeah, but that's
talking
Asian.
about
What?
Asian.
Yeah,
I know.
that's like an
But I'm
Asian
saying
thing.
it's a Western movie, but it's talking about Asian things.
Yeah, so that doesn't count. That's like we'll call that in the middle, gray zone. Yeah, right. It's hard. It's hard to think about. Because we weren't programmed that way. If you actually think about how much media influences our programming, it's very substantial.
Of course, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I asked you just name
I
five.
think it's a mixed bag. It's like, okay, what? I mean, it's like.
But wait, actually, but it's also bad because then that's how they enslave you in Japan, right? Because they make you work those long hours.
Yeah.
The company's more like your family. It's not really like they're
Right.
like you'll sacrifice anything for the company because the company's your family.
Yeah.
That's kind of how they do it there. That's why they work like ridiculously long hours.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's ups and downs. I'm like, I don't want to just continuously glorify Eastern culture, but
Right.
at the same time, it's like
There's pros and cons to everything here, right?
Yeah.
There's certain level to individuality or certain good stuff about it, but then we're not all living in individualistic societies. We're living in collective societies, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think even with this inclusivity thing right now, with like the LGBTQ stuff.
mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the other topic. But yeah, the LGBTQ stuff. It's like we're trying to become more collectivistic. We're trying to accept everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Like even think about the beginning of Squid Game. The son is living with the mom. Has no job. The mom's paying for everything. She's working herself. She has diabetes, but she can't treat it because she has no money for it.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. She even says like, why are you being so naive? Like, I can't afford the hospital. Right. And like, if this were a Western movie, it'd be like, go out on your own. You're not living with me. You don't live here anymore. Go fend for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, actually, that was a big thing when I was growing up too. My parents were always like, if we were Western, we'd kick you out at 18. And I was like, that's so true. Like, I was like when I was a kid, like, shut up, you don't know anything. But now it's like, yeah, like I see the difference now.
Yeah, I mean, that's I've heard that too, but I don't know if to actually do that.
Oh, I've seen people do that though.
No, there are some people, but I didn't seem like it happened. Like it was more of like a stereotypical thing.
I suppose, but no, there's like a lot of like I know a bunch of like Western people who like left their family and their family gives them nothing and they're like, make it on your own.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there's a reason where it comes from, but I felt like it was more of a stereotype.
Think about the billionaires. I'm not going to give my kids any money. Well, like I don't think it's Bill Gates or somebody.
There's only one good dude. Yeah.
No. But like, there's a bunch of like they signed the treaty of like giving away their wealth, and then they
really? There's more.
Yeah. It's a whole thing. Okay. And they want to give like, and they want their kids to pull themselves up from their bootstraps. So you like learn like I learned. Yeah. But I mean, like at the end of the day, I'm sure they're still going to give them money.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to let your kid be on the street, but at the same time, it's like indoctrinating that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Says a lot about your cultural mindset. Yeah. Any final things about Squid Games before Squid Game? I keep thinking it's Squid Games.
But it was Well, yeah. Squid Game is just one game
that was the
called
final
Squid
game
Game.
they played. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anything else before we?
No, it was a good show.
All right. Yeah, definitely worth watching. Netflix, also on Netflix, and it's reminded me when I said the LGBTQ thing, the Dave Chappelle special, the backlash that's going on right now. You said to add it to the.
We talked about last week, right?
No, we were just talking about it through the week.
Oh, did I say to add it? I thought we talked about it last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Whoops. Okay.
But like, I mean, to add more to it, let's just because I think we did talk about last week.
Wait. All right. We okay. Because I made some notes during the week while
because there's new things happened during this week.
Okay, go.
Which was the protests, right?
Yeah.
Which was the Netflix employee protest.
Yes. Yeah.
Which got a lot of attention in the media, of course.
Yeah.
But they're still keeping the show up.
Yeah.
Or the stand-up.
Yeah. And one of the things that I was seeing like a lot of memes going around was like, you're okay with what is it called? You know the name of it.
Cuties.
but you're not okay with Dave Chappelle's special.
Yeah, but I think they weren't okay with cuties. Yeah, there was a lot of backlash to that too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well,
because I remember like there was some backlash. I don't remember that. Like I didn't pay attention to it, but it was
I think it's like you want to take this down, but you don't take down cuties.
Yeah, but there are two different topics, right?
No, totally. Yeah, but it's just like it's more about like pointing to the hypocrisy of it all. You know, like how far do we move for censorship?
Yeah.
You know,
that's why I don't agree with that. This level of censorship, you can protest if you disagree with the content. That's fine. But I do like the aspect that Netflix hasn't removed it.
Yeah,
and they're keeping it.
One thing that I thought, and I was like making notes of it, which was interesting, was that Dave Chappelle's special wasn't actually attacking transgender people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't. He was like he created a trust fund for the child of that person. He was saying one of my best friends is transgender, blah blah blah, right? It's just people just didn't watch it. I think they just jumped on the tagline of like, oh, I hear that's extremely transphobic, and you're like, did you watch it though? You know what I mean? It's like it's more about like we're listening to the hype from others versus the like direct experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like that being said, like Ronnie Chang,
yeah,
his is way more attacking than Dave Chappelle's thing. Like
right.
It's more like directly attacking a culture, which is like Americans, because he just makes fun of them throughout the whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you didn't see any protests or backlash on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's just like a sore spot.
Yeah, right now, yeah, it just
because of like the movements and you know,
mm-hmm.
yeah, Midnight Mass. You know, like sorry, because I made a note here. Midnight Mass as well is also attacking a culture,
mm-hmm.
right? Because they're like
blaspheming.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, how come nobody got upset at that?
Right.
You know, but like, why is this like Dave Chappelle stand up so bad?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just wondering, you know, when you think about it, because it's like who's making the protests? The loud minority? Like what is freedom of speech if you're going to take everything down? You know?
Yeah. Well, that's why I like that Netflix hasn't taken it down.
Yeah, totally. So, but
right.
but I feel like as a protesting culture, we're a little confused about what's right and wrong here. You know, it's like mob mentality. If we deem it to be wrong, it will be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only what you deem to be wrong versus like using that same rule across the board.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the cuties thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, or the Ronnie Chang thing. It's like his was borderline hate speech, technically, because he's just making fun of Americans, right? But nobody cared because the mob doesn't deem it as negative.
Right.
But whatever the mob, it's like mob mentality versus like
sure,
even rule.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't see it that way, or what?
No, that's the whole idea of America, is to protest.
Yeah, you were saying about like the Squid Game thing. Like now that it's popular, what about the Asian Lives Matter protests? We don't have any of those protests, bro, because Asian people just keep on chugging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So another thing is the Apple.
Oh yeah. So many things happened.
Is a big week.
Another big week. Yeah, that was like early in the week too. Apple's thing, which was the presentation on the new Macs and the new M1 chips.
Yeah. Super stoked about that. We are pricing one out, and it's about like 4 Gs for like a pimped out MacBook Pro, which I think maybe that's
which is a decently pimped out. Like if you want to go full out.
Yeah, true. You can go harder in the paint,
yeah.
But no. the thing that I like about this that really turned me out, because it's like, okay, there's an M1 chip and then there's M1 Max.
It's M1 Pro and M1 Max. Those are the two they announced.
Okay, so the M1 Max, the reason why I would upgrade to that one is, remember I bought like 3 screens for my Mac.
yeah.
And then I found out later that Macs can only host 2 screens.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, so I turned the top screen into like a video game screen, right? So what this new M1 Max chip can do, These names are so difficult, man. I gotta keep remembering. The M1 Max chip is you can have 4 external screens now.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty pimpin'. Like, I've always wanted that. Like, if you like those tech, those like nerd people in like movies and stuff who have like multiple screens. I always found that so fascinating because you really can do more with like more real estate. You know?
Yeah. Right.
Like get more work done.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Right. So it's really cool that they introduced that feature. Another thing that they brought out was the AirPods.
Oh, the AirPods, yeah. Which is, it's AirPods 3rd generation, which was the.
So basically, it looks like the Pro.
Looks like the Pro without the nub.
Yeah.
The in-ear nub.
And I didn't like the nub, so.
Mm-hmm. So what are you thinking about it?
I mean, I didn't check out the IPX thing, but if it's waterproof.
Oh, right. Okay.
Like that's the thing where like that's the primary motivation.
It's not waterproof. It's just, I wouldn't use that word.
Or water resistant up to like if it's submergible.
I don't know.
I think that's what they said with the Pro. That's what got me wanting the Pro. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they transferred that over to the new AirPods.
Not sure.
Yeah. Anything else about the...
I thought it was just a really good presentation. Like, for what they're doing for the Macs. Like, this is the next... Because they had the M1s for general Mac users, right? Now, this is for the Pro side. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was pretty well done.
And they brought back the ports.
Oh, yeah. So
that's the huge thing.
Yeah, that's the other headline. So the ports are back. And MagSafe is back.
So if you're wondering what the ports is like, one thing that I didn't like about the new Macs is that they started to make it like the USB-C, and then you need like a dongle with the attachments. If you want to add your like SD card, your USB, your HDMI. That was super annoying. And I was like, I don't want to get rid of my current MacBook Pro in favor of that one, even though it's more powerful because like, yeah, you're trying to make more sleek, but then you're going to have more attachments. But what they did is they added back the SD card, the USB, HDMI ports for the Pro only, right? Or is it for everything?
No, it's for the Pro.
Just for the Pro?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's what I'd want. Yeah. And the MagSafe is the magnetic...
Charging, connector.
Yeah. So like if you accidentally like bump it, it doesn't pull your whole system because it's just connected through magnets. It'll just like fall out.
Yeah.
Definitely worth buying. But I don't know. I'm trying to see if like is the 16 inch better than like the 14 inch, but you were saying that they're
basically you can max them out to be the same. Now it just comes down to what size of screen do you want. You want 14 inch. Yeah. Is that easy to carry around, smaller, right, lighter, versus a 16 inch?
It's so funny because I bought the my current MacBook is 15 inch. And I bought it because like you're like, you got bigger is better, right? But the main thing that I find right now is I can't find backpacks for it. So like even
really?
Yeah, dude, it's so hard. Like you have to get like a big backpack. So like even the backpack I have right now, it like the laptop's poking out the top, but I'm like, this is a really cool backpack, so I'm still gonna use it. But if I were to get a smaller one, it's like it would fit much better inside. Right. That's one thing you don't think about, like carrying it around, especially if you're gonna have a laptop. Like you'd want like something that would fit in a backpack. I was actually going around store to store and being like, my MacBook is 15 inch, like does this backpack fit? And they're like, no, it's 13 inch only. Like the 13 inch or something was like a popular one. I mean with the general users or like getting the MacBook Air and stuff, those are like that kind of size. So they are smaller, lighter, and they easily just fit in backpacks. So that's one thing you have to think about when you're buying a MacBook.
It seems like that is that would be the the most selling Macs, probably the MacBook Air.
True, right? Like to the regular consumer. But if you're going to use it for like, if
you're doing Pro stuff, you need the Pro versions, which are
you got to find a Pro backpack for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that fits. You know what I don't really see too much, and I think it's like backpacks need to have like almost like a floating compartment for the laptop. So right now if you look at any laptop case, like your one, right, it's like your backpack, right? It has a laptop thing.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So like usually if you look at all of them, it's just like a little slip that's in the back.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not good if something is hitting the back
Mm-hmm.
because your laptop's going to be directly hit. I think it should be like a standalone, like a flap compartment that allows the backpack to like swing back and forth. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Or alternately have a hard shell around one side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like how my camera case is, my camera backpack is. It's like a hard shell.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why nobody does that. Like some do, but they're like super pro consumer and
Exactly. Yeah.
but like, damn, it just feels so unsafe. I was working with this one guy before who like, he didn't even have a MacBook thing. He had like, you know, those like duffel bag things he's trying to be all hip. So he just threw his laptop in there. I'm like, dude, that's going to break, man. Like, what are you doing? If you add like clothes on top of it, it's going to bend or warp the laptop. Like, why would you do that?
Right.
Yeah. So,
I mean, some people care about their products and some people don't.
I know, but it's just like that just gives me anxiety when I see it. I'm like, oh, dude. What are
Right.
you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
I get that too. But no, it's their device. They can do what they want.
Yeah.
At that
true,
point,
true.
right? So.
Okay. Another thing that I thought was really cool that you brought up during the week was, speaking of portability, is the Twitch streamers that go around.
Oh yeah. Right.
That guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the main thing was I was trying to talk about is reality TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So reality TV is what we know generally us growing up is like, you know, Survivor or like Big Brother. Like these are terms that they use as reality TV. But now with Twitch and with all the bandwidth that's available, there's actual real reality TV, which is like full 8 hour stream. They did an 8 hour stream of just scuba diving.
Yeah. What was it? Hitch? No,
this is Awkward Travels is their channel. And then there's another person who just is now cycling across Portugal. And that is like an 8 hour stream of him cycling and like doing the different stuff in the country of Portugal, right? Yeah. So that's reality TV.
That's the real reality TV. Yeah. Like we all used to watch like Survivor and stuff, and like that would be edited for TV to like cut down an hour.
Yeah.
But now it's like you can literally watch them straight up for 8 hours. Brock's H, he's just carving. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like it's interesting to think that like social media has really turned us into both product and consumer. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like within the same platform, you're like consuming media, but you can also put out media.
Right.
So it's like you don't need, you know, like producers and consumers use the exact same platform, which I find like really fascinating. It's like such a genius business model, but because of the connectivity and the technology of the world, it's like we're almost like voyeurs into people's lives now, you know, like the diving people you're saying, or like Hitch who likes biking across. Mm-hmm. And like it's boring too. It's like you can just like be eating throughout your day and just like have his screen on and just watch him cycle. Yeah. You know, but like people are into that.
Yeah.
It's like Squid Game. You know, like we're like the 1%ers that are watching these people live out their lives.
Right. Yeah.
And like, what happens if like one of them dies on camera or something? You know what I mean? Like let's say the Hitch guy gets like hit by a car while he's streaming. Dude, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Right? But it's so weird. Like there's like a mental switch where like you almost don't see your life as like your life anymore. It's like a TV show. Mm-hmm. You know, like what must he feel like? He probably feels like he's not living his life anymore. He's a show. He is like a like
he's a product himself.
Yeah,
right.
I'm sure he thinks about it like that too. He's like, what am I going to do today to create content? Mm-hmm. Just like who's that other guy that you like, CJ Ride?
Yeah, which I haven't watched much of recently.
Yeah, but you've been really into like these IRL people for so long.
I mean, I just like them IRL stuff, like or around whichever country they're in. It's just to kind of see like how it works in other countries. Just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
You're getting a little bit of a perspective of what another country is like.
But although, like we were saying in previous podcasts, it's still important to be there because you're still only getting like two senses, which is like your eyes and ears, but you don't get the real experience. Mm-hmm. But it is pretty fascinating. It's so.
I think what it does also is by seeing that too, sometimes you want to go there. It's like, oh, that's something cool.
Right,
like if they show
right.
something cool, it's like, oh, I want to go check that out.
True. Very true. Very true. But it's weird that like, if you really think about it, this is like some high talks right now, but it's like a portal into another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Like Twitch is like a portal into somebody else's dimension. It's not like YouTube. Because like YouTube's like you're uploading content and you watch it for that like 10 minutes. Like YouTube is like the new TV.
Yes, it has become that, yeah.
But like Twitch is like a portal into another world because you're like literally watching them live.
Yeah, it's live and you're actually interacting with them.
And you're actually It's crazy. And I don't think people realize how monumental this is or how like mind-blowing it is.
Yeah.
Like I think it'll hit some people really hard when they really think about it. Like this is literally a portal into another person's life.
I don't think people understand that people make a living this way. Like this is their full time
thing too. Like you know, we're becoming such like a product. We're becoming such like an entertainment consumption society. You know, that people can literally just live their lives and make money. I would love to see somebody try that. Just like literally stream their entire day. Well, I mean, people do that. No, we were just talking about that. But I mean, like something like very mundane. Like, let's say they're like an accountant and they're just live streaming their day as an accountant.
Right.
Like, what would that do to the psychology of the person? And what would that do? What is that like? What is the person watching deriving value of? You know what I mean? It's sort of like playing Sims. You know, like the game Sims is like you're literally just watching them live their life. You're just like, okay, go to work now and then eat some food, you know? It's kind of like that. And it's like, for the viewer, you're watching living vicariously. And then for the accountant, I'm sure it makes his life even better because he's like, I'm not really an accountant. I'm a reality TV star who's playing the role of an accountant right now.
Right.
It probably makes his life even better, you know? Because he's like, right? Because like if he hates being an accountant, he's like, but I'm not an accountant. I'm a reality TV star.
Right. Yeah.
That's pretty trippy, right? Like if you think like, because like all life is just a perspective, right? So if you can switch your perspective on something, it like changes your whole reality. Right? I was reading this book called A Course in Miracles, but then I had to stop because it was too like Jesus heavy. But like, it was like, but everyone keeps talking about this book because it's like super like, I don't know, they're just like, oh, it's such a great book on like changing your mindset. But then you kind of get the point early on, which a real miracle is just a shift in perspective. Because like nothing changed, but the miracle is that you see the world in a different way,
perspective.
Right? So like, you know, that accountant who hates his 9 to 5, but he has to be an accountant, just strap on a GoPro and just like live stream, or not GoPro, but like just strap on a live stream on him and like he's a totally different person.
Yeah.
Right. Trippy. Okay, final thing that I want to talk about was, because I heard about this week and I was like, this is really fascinating. So remember our old podcast, if you're listening to this right now, you want to go listen to it, we talked about climate change.
Right.
And we were saying climate change is impossible to fix because fossil fuels don't go beyond energy. So everyone's like, oh, just stop driving. It's like, but we were saying, but fossil fuels is used for plastic and paint and everything is used for fossil fuels, right? So this dude on Joe Rogan, I didn't finish the podcast yet. I forgot his name, but basically he was saying that you can't stop fossil fuels because we run off of fossil fuel, like not just like literally what we said.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the derivatives of fossil fuels are like tires, like plastics, et cetera, paint, right? But what he brought up, and he's like, nobody's talking about this, is nuclear energy. Because that's actually the cleanest of all the, like, because people are like, oh, what about like solar power energy, you know? But solar power is, it's for a duration of the day. And then on the downtime, like the peak, what are you saying is the peak hour for energy is 5 to 9, 5 p.m. 9 p.m.
Yeah.
But we don't have solar during that time. So what you do is you run off of fossil fuel to make up for your lack of solar, right?
Okay.
I guess hydro is one, but there's not that many hydro places around the world that you can tap the energy from. And wind, same thing as solar. It's like, it's not always windy, right? But what he's saying is like a cup of, like a cup size of like uranium or whatever they use for nuclear power.
Yeah.
That can power someone for the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Like that small size.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is the reason why we don't do that is because of the optics of like Chernobyl, the thing that happened in Japan.
Yeah.
But he's like, if you look at it relative with this new, like he's like, with all new technology, you have to learn how to utilize it, make it better. So like those were like 2 cases out of like every single day we're using it. So I guess technically like when things go bad, they really go bad. But if we just learn how to harness this even better, it's like you have an abundant, clean energy source for the rest, which is steam, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what, which is technically hydro then, I guess. But that is what nuclear power
Hydro is different.
No, but like you're pouring water to create steam, right?
Yeah, that's nuclear.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But I meant like hydro, as in like you're using water. It's some sort of water use.
Yeah, but that one is.
You have a rotor.
It's a dam, right?
Yeah. But I meant.
I know what you meant. Like you're using the same material.
You're just using water, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're all just sleeping on that, and I think that is like because.
What do you mean we're all sleeping on that?
Because like. You could easily shift from, not easily, you could shift from an energy source of using some sort of like fossil fuel or like, because right now all of the attention's on solar, but it's like if we can figure out how to harness nuclear energy.
Is the attention only on solar?
Yeah, like green energy. What else is green energy?
Yeah, no.
Who said nuclear energy is green energy?
I've heard that. It depends who you're reading.
No, but what's the general perception of green? What do you think? Solar?
Yeah,
water,
solar,
air,
wind,
and hydro.
Sure.
Right? But nobody's saying like green energy. Oh, of course, nuclear.
Yeah.
Right? But that's where the shift needs to be.
But we know like already, because I've seen some of these things or like some other countries that go green. It's just not enough power, right?
Nuclear?
Using not nuclear. Using green energy is not enough to sustain everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Where then they need to borrow power coming in from other outside sources.
Exactly,
it's you're doing the same thing. I think the optics of nuclear is bad because of Chernobyl and Fukushima, but it does create more energy.
Yeah.
Than these other sources,
but
it also doesn't mean. I forgot. I saw the video, like a breakdown of the cost of. I think you were comparing. I forgot which 2 things are comparing cost to, because there's different types of. I think even how you do nuclear stuff too. I think.
Okay. So
and
what
like how you. I can't remember, but it was like breaking down the cost of how much it is to build a nuclear power plant, and then how much you gain. Like it's a I can't remember if it's a 30-year process or
really
or like a 20-year process or something like that to the cost to create, but then the gains come much later.
Yeah, so it's like that just goes back to like Eastern versus Western mentality thinking, right? Because like Eastern mentality is like the long game, whereas like Western mentality is like I want it now. So like
so there's 2 things there too, because I think what he was doing is I forgot what the other energy source was that he was cost breaking down to, but it was like you can create something at a shorter amount of time with less cost, creating all this energy, but the maintenance cost is more in the long term for that thing versus nuclear.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so it's like you're either gonna eat your vegetables now or later. Yeah. Okay. One other thing that they brought up with the nuclear energy is like these like aliens, because if you can create like high amounts of nuclear energy to power something, it's like you're gonna give like what like okay, so your phone runs off of like a set amount of battery, so it can only produce a specific amount of output. But if you have like a crazy amount of battery power, like you can power more things within, so you can make it do more with more energy, right?
Right.
So one thing that they're talking about is like, what if these like UFO things, they're drone, like there's some sort of tech that's utilizing like
Nuclear?
maybe like a nuclear fission.
Yeah. Look, they're looking for the spice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. They're that's true.
It's from Dune.
Those aliens. But yeah.
That's from Dune, though. Yeah.
Oh, what?
Spice.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like they're trying to make it like spicy in the media.
Oh, no. I meant like energy, as in calling that energy spice, because that's what's in the movie for
they
Dune.
have to go to get the energy. Right.
It's
that's what makes their eyes blue.
Yeah. It's the spice, and they use it for
powering their ships and stuff.
No. For them, it's more like what do they say? Like hallucinogenic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but also
like
that
drugs.
spice is also used to power spaceships.
Yeah, but see, like all right, so like
the movie's good. Anyway,
but
we'll talk about that later.
So think about like what you said about like powering the spaceships. So it's like, okay, we need like rocket fuel or whatever. I guess you wouldn't solve the problem with rocket fuel, but like you need some energy mechanism to power the ship while it's in space. What if you had like a nuclear reactor, a mini nuclear reactor in the spaceship? Which is what they kind of had in like TV shows. But you'd have like an infinite supply of energy powering something forever, because like nuclear, like uranium or whatever, it doesn't decompose for like thousands and thousands of years. That's also the problem with it, though. Like that.
Yeah, there are issues with it that you'll have to deal with 1,000 years later.
Not right now. Yeah. True.
That's the other thing too. Yeah,
it's the super long game.
It's a super long game. Yeah.
I just thought that was pretty interesting. That like you never think about nuclear when you think of like green energy, and it should be put on the table. I totally agree. It's like, if it's producing no waste and the only potential is like radioactivity, or like if things go bad, then it's like, yeah, okay, so just figure out how to make it not bad, and then you'll be fine. Because one thing that they were saying as well is the solar panels have lead on them. So as soon as you replace, because you have to replace your solar panels because they don't last forever. When you replace it, it shoots lead out into the surroundings. So like there's always going to be a cost to your energy. Yeah. So like cost benefit, you know? Yeah. Okay, final.
But it's not like I agree. Yeah, I mean, one source, it does create a lot of energy, nuclear. I mean, there's nothing wrong with multiple sources.
But trying to figure out like the solution to.
I don't think it's a one solution. Fuel. I think that's the thing. It's
using it in unison.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is to cut out coal emissions.
Yeah. But that, I think
that's like the big problem.
Yeah. Clean coal. I remember that line.
Oh no, clean coal. One thing that he said is like, and it's so true. Again, nobody thinks about like the hypocrisy or the juxtaposition of it all. Is that we wouldn't have these advancements in society without carbon emissions. So it's like, what are you gonna?
Our modern, where we're at in this modern time, it's because of oil.
Yeah. So
which she found 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And figured out. Yeah.
We've come so far in 100 years because of oil. So it's like, okay, like why are you going to demonize all of it? The fact that you can even tweet about how bad coal emissions is a testament to how great coal emission is.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like stop fossil fuels now. But fossil fuels got us to here. So
I agree. But then there was a short-term thing to realize, wait, it's also not good for our long-term survivability.
So let's just stop complaining. Let's just think of a new solution. If you spent like, so you have 100% energy bar, right? Like you as a human being, let's say, if you spent like the 90% of the time that you're using to complain to figure out a solution, you probably have the solution by now. You know what I mean? It's like, why are you focusing on the problem? Just focus on the solution. How are you going to fix it?
But there are people that do that. So,
what, complain?
Solutions.
Right. No, but I'm saying like all these people that are complaining, it's like, cool. Yeah, you can protest and you can complain about all that stuff, but it's like, Just figure it out, you know?
Yeah, but
'Cause
I
we
think
only
that's
have 24 hours in a
that is what's happening, right? Sure, there's going to be people who don't have anything; they're just going to keep complaining, right? But there are people who are finding solutions.
No, but the people that are finding solutions, are they complaining? No, they're focusing on finding the solution.
Sure, yeah, but to know that there's a problem is to complain first, right?
I don't think so. I think smart people are just like, oh, this is probably gonna be an issue in the long run. Let me figure it out. Like, it's not because they complain that other people were creating these solutions in the future, or like solutions now to these carbon emission issues. I'm sure they were working on them now, and the complainers are just bringing light to their solutions.
Sure.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like the chicken and the egg scenario. Like, was it because of the protesters that they started creating the solutions? I really don't think so.
No, I think it's just more of a bringing light to people who didn't know anything about it.
I suppose, yeah, but it's just like,
that's what I view it as more.
That's true, actually, fair point. Yeah, because if they didn't complain, people wouldn't know about it. People wouldn't get behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the same time, it's like,
then there's more of a, I think with that kind of thing, sometimes maybe there's, see, like for like a pipeline, the protest kind of worked. They didn't do a pipeline.
Okay.
Right. So that they have to find a different solution to the energy kind of thing instead of using a pipeline.
So you're saying that there's a point to protesting?
It works sometimes. So.
Yeah. Okay. Fair point. I'll give you that one. You're right.
Because Joe Biden could have just said, no, we'll keep doing the Keystone Pipeline, but no.
Because people were too pissed.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have cheerleaders and you have doers in this world, and you need cheerleaders to help the doers continue to keep doing what they're doing. Is what you're saying?
Yeah. Everyone plays a game.
We all have a role.
We have a role, in this game.
All right, final thing, because I thought this was also interesting. They brought up is Monsanto.
Yeah.
All right, so you know how they got big?
No. I don't remember.
Okay, Coca-Cola.
Oh,
so
really?
they were like, he wrote a book about like the economics or the ramifications of Coca-Cola, and he was saying how Monsanto, it was a very like weak company, and then what it did was, I think it provided caffeine for Coca-Cola.
Okay.
It synthesized caffeine for them, and that's how they made their money. And then you know how Coca-Cola used cocaine in their thing? They have an exclusivity deal with the government to be the only importers of cocaine and growers of cocaine. Coca-Cola. A genius move. I just thought that was cool. Yeah. All right. Food for thought. Next week we're going to talk about Dune, and we'll learn more about the spice. Yeah. Is it green energy? Is their spice green energy? Is there any ramifications? Like, is it ruining their environment?
Still, it's ruining, not necessarily livelihood. No, they didn't really stop them from doing it. It's more about letting the people of that planet be like continuing to live, right?
Oh, so it's like Avatar.
Kind of like Avatar, yeah.
Okay.
But Avatar came after Dune, right?
Ooh, dun dun dun. And James Cameron is a thief. No,
kind of like that. There's some cool things, cool tech. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
How to survive in the desert.
Ooh, okay, cool. Yeah, those nose breathe things. Is that what you're talking about? No?
Yeah. The suits, they recycle.
Oh, okay.
Your sweat and...
Okay, cool. We'll talk about it next week. All right, till next
But these
time.
things are there if you watch the original movies.
I don't know if I could do it. It seems too old for me.
No, I don't think...
Classic.
Yeah. No, that's fine. It is an old movie. Yeah. I did watch it way before, but it's interesting to see the difference.
Okay, cool.
For today's time.
So I'm excited. We'll cover Dune next week. Yeah. And in the meantime, go check out Squid Game if you haven't. I think I'm the only person on earth who hasn't seen it up till now. So, yeah. All right. Take it easy, Vish.
All right.
Peace.
Bye.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things. And check out our sponsors, Zenro Clothing Co., Portian Bakery, and Podbean. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.